Hello everyone, it's Emma and welcome back to my channel and welcome to my unaesthetic home. I have done videos like these in the past, but I thought it was time to do it again because I have not showed you my unaesthetic parts of my zero waste RV, as well as it kind of fits into the underconsumption core trend. I like to think that I was 4 years ahead of this trend. If you've not heard of underconsumption core, it was kind of trending on Instagram and TikTok in like late July. Influencers in general, but particularly eco-influencers, talking about how we don't really succumb to the overconsumption that normal influencers post about, like buying every new Stanley that comes out, buying these fancy organization drawers, buying this new product and fitting into this trend. We don't do that around here. We stick with what we have, even if it might be a little bit ugly, a little bit old, a little bit outdated, not trendy, not that cute. And that's what I want to show you today. I want to show you some practical, eco-friendly things in my RV that aren't necessarily the cutest, but they're cheap, they produce the least amount of waste, they're practical, and they get the job done. I make videos like this as well to show you that you don't have to fit the zero waste aesthetic. As you can see, my house it's not white. I don't have a bunch of plants. It's not got a lot of like windows, etc. It doesn't fit that aesthetic. I don't have a shelf full of mason jars from my bulk store. I don't have a compost. I don't have a garden. I don't have solar panels. I don't have an EV. You don't have to fit that zero waste aesthetic to be zero waste. You can be zero waste with whatever aesthetic you choose, or you don't have to fit into any aesthetic. You can just be you and just be zero waste. And that's kind of what I'm doing. All right, the first unaesthetic thing that I do in the RV that I'm not doing right now, so I'll take a video and I'll put it in, and that is I dry my period underwear right here on this rail, which is right atop of our kitchen / our office / our living room / our lounge area. That is the only place that we have to sit in the RV and eat, and I dry my period underwear right there. Why don't I just dry them outside? I used to dry them outside when we lived in Spokane, and I dried them outside once when we lived here in May, but ever since then, the ticks and the mosquitoes have been so bad, the spiders have increased. I don't want bugs in my period underwear by drying them outside. They're not in our way, but it is unaesthetic. I literally dry my underwear in the kitchen / dining room. All right, let's go over here. This one's pretty, it's not that unaesthetic now that I'm like looking at it, but here we have our recycling and then our trash is back there. It doesn't look nearly as bad as I thought, especially because the recycling bin is enclosed. It does have this little flap on it, so the recycling is hidden, and the trash is kind of hidden because it's behind this bench right here, but I did just replace it. So when the trash is low, it's fine, but when the trash gets full, you can see it. There's a giant trash bag just sitting here right in the middle of our living room / dining room, and it's ugly. Good news, we do compost with the Lomi, so it's not stinky or smelly, it doesn't have pests in it, but it is an eyesore. I guess the good news too about the RV is nobody comes in here. We don't really have space to accommodate guests, and we have a community room in the park that we're currently living at, so we hang out with friends down there. If we did have friends come in here more often, I probably would be more inclined to hide the trash better, but nobody visits us, so trash is out in the open. But also while we're right here, don't mind Denahi. There he is. But this is his bench and it's got an old towel on it. This towel's a little bit cuter than the other one. Here's the other one. The other one's hiding right here, which we'll get to that mess in a second. But we keep towels on his side of the bench to keep the bench dirt-free. As dirt-free as possible, to prevent any staining, to prevent any dirt. Bright colored towel on our bench, again in our kitchen / living room. It's not very cute, but it is practical. It is saving the longevity of our benches. It is reducing how much mess we have to clean up, and it's practical. And that's the whole premise of this entire video. Speaking of composting, this is the composting situation. We have a frozen bag of compost in the freezer because we only run the Lomi like every 7 to 12 days, depending on how much we use food waste wise. And so I don't want anything sitting on the counter. That's gross. So we have this taking up our entire freezer space basically because our freezer is this big in this bag that I have reused for months. It's disgusting. But hey, it gets the job done. It keeps this food out of the landfill, and we get to compost it. Now the downside is everything in the freezer smells like this, which none of it's bad. It just essentially everything in the freezer smells like frozen bananas or frozen onions. So it's not great. Something else while I'm over here is my baby pothos. My pothos almost died this summer. It was getting way too much sun and essentially had 2 leaves left. So I left 1 leaf in the soil. I plucked 1 leaf out of here. I think it's this one. And I said, hopefully this plant comes back. Now both plants, this propagation and the original plant, both have 3 leaves. It's thriving. And look how cute. She's in this recycled pesto jar. Upcycled pesto jar that I didn't take the label off of because I'm far too lazy to take the labels off of jars. And you don't need to buy jars. Please stop buying jars. You get them for free when you buy pesto, peanut butter, salsa, pasta sauce, pickles, so many things. You already bought that jar, use it. You can make your jars more aesthetic. I think I have a couple jars in here. This is my favorite brand. in general, Newman's own because they are a small business. They are not owned by mega corporations and they give money back to charities. I also love them because look how cleanly that label comes off. This is the only thing left and you could get that glue off if you wanted to. So these jars are great for getting labels off of. They're aesthetic. The lids are pretty and green. You can upcycle jars in a cute way, or you can be like me, keep the labels on because it's practical, it saves you time, it saves you energy, it's free, even though it's a little ugly. Speaking of ugly, my grocery list. I love her though. Don't you worry. When we first got married, I did what we did when I was growing up and I would buy like fancy fridge magnet grocery lists. We would stick it on the magnet. They were cute. They were aesthetic. And then one day we ran out and I'm just like, what a waste of money. I'm spending money on a grocery list that I'm gonna throw away when I get a bunch of junk mail. Let's see what we got in here. This is a shipping order from Meow Meow Tweet, but the back of it, totally blank. So it's my grocery list. These blue ones are from our Washington ballots. Like, this is so much blank scrap paper. Why not give it another reuse before you throw it away or recycle it? You don't have to buy anything, so you're saving money. She's a little ugly. Even the magnet is a little ugly. The magnet's kind of a lot ugly. I don't even know where we got this magnet, but the magnet has fallen out several times, so it's been hot glued back and forth. I just thought of another one, and this really ties into underconsumption core. Something I have not talked about on the channel is Dan and I played D&D. At first, we were rolling our dice on the table, and it's loud, they fall off, and we play via Discord with our friends, and I didn't like that they were hearing the dice roll and I didn't know how loud it was for them and I felt rude. So at first I crocheted a dice bowl, just something that would dampen the noise, but it was pretty lumpy and we were getting inaccurate rolls and I'm just like, we really need a dice tower. I want a dice tower because it's truly random, takes less pressure off me for rolling good. It's quiet, it's effective. I love dice towers. I wanted one now and I also didn't want to get something that's wasteful, especially if I didn't like it. I had never tried a dice tower before, so I made one. Look how ugly this is. It is made out of packing tape and old box, but it gets the job done. It was free. We don't have paper recycling anyway, so this was going to go in the landfill. So it's staying out of the landfill, and it works. Oh my gosh. This other one, and something else that's really ugly. What is in here? Why is this heavy? Oh, it's gummy worms. I thought there was something perishable in my lunchbox. I bought this lunchbox when I moved to Okinawa. Actually, I think it was before I moved there and when I visited Dan. So I bought this 7 years ago. What year is it? 7 years ago. It's plastic, it's cheap, and now it's ugly. As you can see, it's tearing right here, it's tearing right here, and I just keep sewing it. I keep sewing it closed and it gets the job done. Especially right now where I'm only volunteering 1 or 2 days a week. Therefore, I'm only eating lunch outside the house 1 or 2 days a week. I don't need something that cute or that functional. It gets the job done for a couple hours a day. Super ugly. Like, the whole thing is hideous. It's not cute, it's not aesthetic, it's not modern, but it gets the job done. It keeps my lunch cold. It keeps it contained. Oh my gosh, this one. It should be live by the time you're seeing this. You can check it out up here, my full eco-friendly bug itch relief video. But right now, I have this on my counter. It's been on my counter all summer long, and it is just a cup full of baking soda paste. The cup's cute though, and the cup, I found it in the trash. No, I didn't even find it in the trash. I found this as litter on the beach. So I took it home from Japan, and now it has homemade bug itch relief in it. It's ugly, it's crusty, but man, this is the best bug itch relief I have ever tried, and it just lives here on the counter. Anyway, let's move on to the bedroom. We've got a couple in here that are ugly. The first being Denahi's bed. His bed is comprised of 3 old blankets, all of which I made or bought in high school, so they have withstood the test of time. If you want to learn more about my oldest items, you can check that out up here. But these are essentially blankets that have they have a little bit of sentimental value, but they really don't have that much sentimental value to them, so it doesn't matter if he gets them dirty. It's comfy for him, it's practical. We didn't have to buy a new dog bed. He enjoys them, I think, and we're getting more use out of them, especially because storage is limited in here. We don't really have that much storage space for all these extra blankets, so it actually helps us storage-wise to just keep them on the floor for Denahi. Oh gosh, it's gotten bad, this blanket. Though this comforter used to be white. We were moving back into the RV. It was a little bit stained and dirty because I'm brushing my legs up against it right now. Our hallway isn't very big, so it was getting dirty from like our dirty clothing. I was like, let me dye it a color that won't show stains as easily. Let's go for a dark green. It really kind of fits the vibe of the RV. It's gonna be cute. It took me 3 tries, video up here, to do it successfully, and it's still splotchy AF. Oh my gosh. I love the main color of it, but there's this giant splotch in the middle, and I think Dan put it on upside down when he made the bed today. It looks much better the other way. So I think when we get to California, I'm gonna give it a re-dye because I love this comforter. It's soft, it's warm, it's cozy. She's ugly, but it was upcycled. I saved it from the landfill. I didn't have to buy anything new. I love how it functions. I don't love how it looks. Now, while I was busy dyeing our comforter, Dan was busy adding cabinets to the RV. Here's one of them right here. So the main access for this part of the storage is on the other side of the sink, and it worked fine, but we couldn't really get to the back of this area. This area under the sink is huge. A great chance to take advantage of some extra storage. He bought this door secondhand. He installed it himself. And now we have easy access to much more of the stuff back here. We were really able to put more stuff in here, store more items, we even have some extra food in here, etc, etc. It doesn't match. It is totally a different color from the rest of our cabinetry. It kind of matches the counter, so it's not like bad, it's not like bright yellow or something. The point is here, it's secondhand, it's eco-friendly, but it doesn't match, and that's okay. We have another one over here, let me show you. I think I did show these off in our updated RV tour. If I have cards left, you can check it out up here. Here's the second one. This was never a cabinet to begin with. This was just under the oven, full of wires and pipes and stuff. So Dan pushed all that to the back. We have so much extra storage for our pots and pans. This truly has been a game changer. I've been adding a few paintings on here. I gave up very quickly, so maybe I'll add more, maybe not. But again, it doesn't match. This one even more obviously doesn't match, but you know what? It's practical. It was secondhand. Something I simply do not understand is when people go out and buy matching storage containers, especially if you're never gonna see them. Like if I had a storage thing on the wall right here and I wanted it to look cute, I might buy matching things. For the shelf that you're sitting on, all of our baskets in here, they don't match. Some of them are ugly, some of them are stained, but guess what? Nobody ever sees them except for me. Here's this one full of bug spray. Here's this one full of grocery bags. Here's this one with some note cards in it. Here's my sewing kit, classic. Unaesthetic AF. It's got a whole bunch of writing on here, but oh my gosh, all my sewing stuff fits in there. And then we've got some bigger items like this square one, and I think some of these fabric ones are the ones that are stained. But wow, they fit perfectly in this cabinet. Dan designed it that way. And none of these are trendy, none of them are cute, none of them are aesthetic, none of them match. But they get the job done. We already had them or we bought them all secondhand. And lastly for today, keep in mind I have more unaesthetic things in my house. Don't you worry, my house is so unaesthetic. But lastly for today is because we're in an RV, our storage options are pretty minimal, meaning that a lot of our stuff is out in the open, whether it looks good or not. And what I mean is like, we have a collection of stuff right here. A lot of it we do try to find homes for, like my jar full of embroidery floss, my bowl full of like my essentials, a cup full of pens. Then we also have my stack of clothing here. This is clothing that's like I've worn once. It's not quite dirty, so I'm gonna wear it again, especially like when I'm going out in the field to volunteer. So I don't want to hang it up, but I don't want to put it in the laundry. We have a bunch of stuff under the table, like my backpack for work, Denahi's toys, Denahi's extra towel. And yeah, living in an RV, we do live pretty minimally. I would say we're relatively minimalists, but we still have a lot of stuff that we just don't have homes for because all of our storage space is full. Like our bookshelf is full to the brim, our closets are full to the brim, our kitchen storage is full to the brim. So anything extra is just on the counter. Again, I feel like we do a pretty good job of like compiling stuff into bowls or jars or baskets, but not all of those baskets and bowls and jars are put neatly away. It is just kind of scattered. This is also nice because RV storage typically is like very deep, like this cabinet back here where the TV is. So many things in that cabinet, but it's so far in the back. So like you have to take out 7 things just to get to that one item you want. So sometimes it is just easier to leave it out in the open. That is all for today's video. If you want to see my 2 older videos about my unaesthetic life, you can check them out above and below. My first one was like my first viral video on YouTube, which was really exciting. And I'm so glad that other people are hopping on board on this trend. I like to think that I started it. You don't have to fit an aesthetic. You don't have to fit the trends. You don't have to buy a bunch of stuff every single time something new comes out. You can use what you have. You can love what you have. In fact, that's the most eco-friendly thing that you can do. The most eco-friendly thing is the thing that you already own. And I think it is just so powerful to get out of that mindset that you don't have to be trendy. You don't have to fit in. You can be your own person. You can build your own aesthetic, your own life around whatever you enjoy and love. Is this RV my dream aesthetic? No, and we're really excited to move to California and buy a house and build that aesthetic ourselves. But again, we're gonna build that ourselves. We're gonna collect items that we love, probably most likely secondhand or from sustainable sources, instead of just buying a bunch of stuff that some random influencer told me to buy. And that goes for me too. I know I'm an influencer and I know that I tell you to buy stuff sometimes, but I hope by now that you know that whether I say it explicitly or not, I never want you to drop everything and buy what I'm recommending. I want you to think about it. Do you actually need it? Do you want it? Where are you going to put it? How are you going to use it? How are you going to get rid of it? Etc, etc. Buy what you need. Buy what you want. Buy what you will use for a long time. You don't have to fit the mold of society and aesthetics and trends. Let me know what is the ugliest thing in your house. I know this is a little bit different take on the underconsumption core. Underconsumption core is like a dice tower, right? Like making something out of materials destined for the landfill instead of buying something new. That's underconsumption core, using what I already have. But this take is a little bit more like, I am using what I have. I did buy stuff, a lot of the stuff I mentioned secondhand. I am upcycling stuff. But this video is particularly about the ugly stuff, the extra ugly stuff that I do, that it's non-aesthetic, it's not trendy, but it is zero waste. And again, if you want to fit that zero waste aesthetic, you want to fit whatever aesthetic you want, do that, but do it in as eco-friendly of a way as you can. Shopping secondhand, upcycling, shopping from sustainable brands. You guys get the point. That's why you're on this channel. That's why you're watching this video. So I appreciate your time and I appreciate your support of all of my content. I will see you in the next video, but until then, remember that your small actions make a big difference in the long run. Bye guys. This one's my favorite brand of... Mister, you okay? Need a new spot to lay down? It is getting close, not quite. He will tell me right at 5 p.m. on the dot that it's time for